Well, well, well. Things really aren't going very well for the orange buffoon, are they? So sad. You know, it was just a little over a week ago that the panic really began when Republicans got their asses kicked in the elections. And we had all this terrible polling data for Donald Trump, and it started to sink in that he might lose control of Congress a year from now, and then he's really in deep shit. And then came the Laura Ingraham interview on Fox News a couple nights ago, and boy, was that bad. Because now he has a whole bunch of MAGAs turning on him, as I've been talking about. But then today happened. And really, this was really bad for Trump. Because we learned about emails that were sent by Donald Trump's former bestie, Jeffrey Epstein, about, some of the things that Jeffrey Epstein was doing. And we learned some really interesting things about Donald Trump. Among the things that we learned is that according to Jeffrey, in these emails, Donald Trump knew full well what Jeffrey was up to. Because, of course, Donald Trump has always denied that. He didn't know. He fired him when he found that out. No, you didn't. That's not fired him. Kicked him out of his club. That's what he did. Kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago when he found out about all those things that he had done, all the crimes that he had committed. No. You knew about those things. You were perfectly fine with it. It had nothing to do with that. You, Donald Trump, were upset that Jeffrey, as you put it, stole some girls from you, right? Who worked in the spa, these young girls. Jeffrey Epstein stole them from you. And you were really angry about that. That's why you kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. Of course, Jeffrey Epstein, I believe one of the things he mentions in these emails that he was never a member of Mar-a-Lago. I don't know. Doesn't really matter, I guess. The point is, and this is the point, you knew what Jeffrey Epstein was up to. You were over there many, many times when Jeffrey Epstein had these young girls over. And not only that, yes, it gets worse. It gets a lot worse. Not only that, but we learned that Donald Trump, according to his best friend Jeffrey, was alone with one of Jeffrey Epstein's victims for hours. Now that's really bad. And the question is, how old was this victim? And what exactly did you do to her, Donald? That's the question. And that's a question that's not going away. No matter what you try to do to cover it up, and by the way, you people in Venezuela, you better get ready, you're about to get bombed. Because this is what Donald Trump does. Whenever there's bad news for him, he goes and bombs somebody or something else to serve as a distraction. Or maybe he will send the military into another American city. Maybe he'll do that. I don't know. But I'd be pretty nervous if I were you down there in Venezuela. But, that's not the only thing that's not going well for Donald Trump. You got the election loss, the terrible poll numbers. I got some more of those if I have time to get to it. And by the way, we might be interrupted. This is not the greatest time for me to be recording. And I might get some texts or phone calls that I have to take. And you might be thinking, why are you telling me this? You could just edit that out. No, I'm too lazy to do that. So you're just going to have to suffer through some texts or phone calls with me, okay? Just warning. Now, on top of the horrible election results, the terrible, see, right now, I already got one, okay. The terrible polls that he's got, the fact that MAGA is pissed off at him. The other bad thing that happened for Donald Trump is it looks like the government shutdown is coming to an end. Now, I know he's had to say that he wants the government shutdown to end, but he doesn't really. He loves the government being shut down for a whole lot of reasons. He can cut, food assistance to low income people and cause a lot of suffering, which he likes to do. He likes to inflict pain and suffering on people, so he gets to get off on that. He and Russ Vought and Stephen Miller, they get to cut all kinds of things in the federal government and use the shutdown as an excuse to do it. But most importantly, from Donald Trump's perspective, if the government is shut down, or as the government has been shut down, he and his little puppet, Grinder Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, have used the government shutdown to keep the House in recess. The House, members of the House have only gone to work like 3 days in the last couple of months. I mean, it's something really pathetic like that. They've been on recess this whole time because Donald Trump wants them in recess. Because as long as they are not in session, then Grinder Mike has an excuse not to swear in Congresswoman-elect Grijalva from Arizona. Now, with the government shutdown coming to an end, he's got no excuse anymore to keep the House out of session, and then his excuse for not swearing her in kind of evaporates. So now he's going to have to swear her in, and that's really bad for Donald Trump. That's why the government was shut down in the first place. Because Republicans could have ended the government shutdown any damn time they wanted to. Not just by agreeing to what Democrats wanted. In fact, if they had done that, that actually would have been politically advantageous to Trump and Republicans. So they could have done that, didn't do it. But they also could have just set aside the filibuster rule. And they didn't need 60 votes. That's all bullshit. They have set aside the filibuster rule many times in the past. For judges, most notably, and for other things too, they've set aside the filibuster rule. They could have set it aside in this instance as well and ended the government shutdown long ago without having to give Democrats anything that they wanted. The government was shut down because Donald Trump wanted to cover up things like these emails that came out today. He wanted to cover up what he did with his best friend, Jeffrey Epstein, to young girls. That's why the government was shut down. And so this is all, Donald Trump is having a string of bad luck. Bad things happening to him right now. And Trump is straight up panicked. You know how I know that he's panicked? Because they are having emergency meetings in the White House. This article just came out a few hours ago from CNN. Headline, exclusive. Trump administration plans meeting over House effort to force release of all DOJ's Epstein files. Let me read just a little of this. Top Trump administration officials were planning to meet Wednesday about an effort in the U.S. House to force a vote on releasing Justice Department case files related to Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump's best friend. This, according to multiple sources familiar with the meeting. One of the sources said the planned meeting would include Attorney General Pam Bondi, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, FBI Director Kash Patel, and Republican Representative Lauren Boebert of Colorado, who has wanted the Justice Department to release their trove of Epstein files and has signed on to the effort in the House to force the vote compelling their release. So what's going on here in this meeting, which I don't know, may have taken place already. But this is an emergency meeting to do a couple of things. To try to figure out what the hell to do, how to contain the fallout from these emails, and how to continue the cover-up to the best of their ability. And by the way, Todd Blanche, who is the Deputy Attorney General. Ghislaine Maxwell, who is serving a 20-year prison sentence for procuring young girls for Jeffrey Epstein to sexually abuse, and who sexually abused those girls herself. She was moved to basically a day camp. It's technically a prison, but it's more like a day camp, especially for her, because even in that, that cushy federal prison, she's getting all kinds of perks that the regular inmates are not getting. She's getting special meals delivered to her in her cell. She has the warden, according to reports, the warden is actually helping her draft her request for a pardon or a commutation from Donald Trump. Wow, that is a perk that most inmates do not get. And she also gets things like, oh, puppy time. She gets time to play with puppies there at the prison. I'm not even shitting you. That's real. Anyway, she's also very excited. She also has sent letters that we have learned about to family and friends saying how happy she is in this new prison. Couldn't be happier. In fact, the letters make it sound like she's so damn happy that even once she gets this pardon from Trump, which she is going to get, she might not even want to leave. I mean, she's really sounding like she's never been happier. Anyway, Todd Blanche is the one who met with Ghislaine Maxwell to make sure, Laney, just want to make sure you're not going to say anything to incriminate Trump. You and I both know that you got the goods on him. We just want to make sure you're going to be quiet. And if you're quiet, you're going to go down to that day camp prison. You're going to get all kinds of special perks. We'll send pallets of puppies down there for you to play with, and we'll make it nice for you until Donald Trump can quietly issue you a pardon. Maybe when we invade Venezuela, that would be a good time to issue you a pardon, because everyone will be distracted about the war in Venezuela, and then you can just get out. Or you can stay. I know it's real nice down there, so maybe we'll set you up a nice suite. We'll build you maybe, your own wing of the prison, so you can stay. Anyway, that's Todd Blanche. He's there. And so they're trying to contain the fallout from these emails. They're trying to figure out, well, okay, what the hell is our strategy? What are we going to do? The government's opening up again. Damn it. Grinder Mike's going to have to swear in this woman. What can we do? Well, one thing they can do is try to flip one Republican vote. Now, there's not a lot of Republicans who have signed on to this discharge petition. In fact, I think the only ones, if memory serves, are Thomas Massie, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and they're not going to flip her. In fact, they are, she's turning on Trump, and Trump is turning on her, and I'm friggin' loving it. So I don't think they're going to waste their time trying to get Marge to flip. So they got Thomas Massie, who's also no chance he's going to flip. Massie, Marge, Nancy Mace, and it's going to be hard to get her to flip because she has built her whole political career on the allegation that she had been raped. I mean, that's her big thing. She'll tell anyone. I mean, I think she tells people online at the grocery store that she's been raped. This is her big thing. She's not letting go of that, and she can't really change her mind on releasing the Epstein files when being a rape victim and standing up for rape victims has been her whole shtick. She can't do that. So really, that only leaves Lauren Boebert. And that's why she is there. So you got all of these bigwigs in the Trump Justice Department. These are all Justice Department people, right? Yeah. You got, and there might be others, I don't know. I'm just saying these are the people named in the article. So they're all ganging up on the halfwit, and that is putting it very. I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt, shall we say, that she is half-witted. Because I don't think she is. But anyway, they're ganging up on her to try to get her to flip and to not vote for releasing the Epstein files. Now, what happens if they do? What if they are not successful in flipping Boebert and they get a majority to vote for this discharge petition? What if the Senate also passes this bill? So we got it through the House, get it through the Senate. Well, then it goes to Trump. Well, Trump's not going to sign it. So my point is, I'm all for this discharge petition and then forcing a vote on releasing the Epstein files. I'm 100% for that. But let's not get our hopes up to think that that's actually going to force the release of these files. It's not. Trump's not going to sign it. And I doubt there's not going to be enough votes. I mean, there's barely enough votes to pass with a simple majority. So they're not going to overturn his veto, right? They're not going to override his veto. So Trump vetoes it, it's dead. But that puts Donald Trump in a really bad position, right? He does not want to be in that position. He does not want to veto the bill to release the Epstein files. He does not want to do that. So I guess he could sign it and then pretend that he has released all the Epstein files. Or just destroy all the Epstein files and then commit the crime of destruction of evidence and all that stuff. Maybe he'll do that. I don't know. But the point is, he doesn't want to be in this position. It's bad. It's a bad position to be in. So Donald Trump is really not having a good day. Now, we're having a good day. Anytime Trump is not doing well, that means the rest of us are. That's how that works. Now, I want to switch gears to another story that's deadly serious. We've been talking about Trump murdering people in the Caribbean, blowing up these boats with no legal authority whatsoever, and I've explained that many times. But to put a point on it, we now get this reporting that the British have suspended sharing intelligence with us over these illegal killings and blowing these people out of the water in the Caribbean. Let me read a little of this story to you. Exclusive. This is from CNN. UK suspends some intelligence sharing with US over boat strike concerns in major break. The United Kingdom is no longer sharing intelligence with the U.S. about suspected drug trafficking vessels in the Caribbean because it does not want to be complicit in U.S. military strikes and believes the attacks are illegal. The UK's decision marks a significant break from its closest ally and intelligence sharing partner and underscores the growing skepticism over the legality of the U.S. military's campaign around Latin America. For years, the UK, which controls a number of territories in the Caribbean, where it bases intelligence assets, has helped the U.S. locate vessels suspected of carrying drugs so that the U.S. Coast Guard could interdict them. That meant ships would be stopped, boarded, its crew detained, and drugs seized. Now, that's the way it's supposed to be done. That's the way we've been doing it for decades. But that doesn't serve Donald Trump's political interests. And that doesn't serve Donald Trump's interests in distracting from what he did to young girls with Jeffrey Epstein. So instead of having the Coast Guard interdict these drug traffickers, he's just going to blow them the hell up. He's just going to murder people. He's just going to commit war crimes because that's much more newsworthy. And besides, I've got immunity from the Supreme Court. And besides, my cult controls Congress. So nobody's going to do anything to me. Except those elections last week were really bad. And the fact that I have a 37% approval rating. And the fact that I'm underwater on every major issue. And the fact that Republicans are losing the generic congressional ballot right now to Democrats by 8 points. All of a sudden it looks like I might lose control of Congress next year. Let me shit my diaper right now. I'm going to start panicking, which of course is what he's doing. He is panicked. And these illegal boat strikes, these murders, are one of the things that should be an article of impeachment when we are in a position to impeach and remove this piece of shit. Which, it's always been a long shot, but it is growing increasingly more likely. In fact, I just came across an article today. Check this out. This is, a betting site or something. Will President Trump be impeached again? It's up to over 50% now. I saw this on Drudge. Yeah, right there. Impeachment odds reach 50%. So it's looking much more like a possibility that we can impeach this piece of shit. And impeachment, as we know, is not going to do the trick. We need to remove his orange ass this time. And again, while still a long shot, it looks a hell of a lot more doable than it did just a few weeks ago. And I think he sees that too, which is why he's panicked. Any more from this? Yeah, let me read a little bit more of this. This going back to the article about the UK ceasing their intelligence sharing. The intelligence was typically sent to Joint Interagency Task Force South, a task force stationed in Florida that includes representatives from a number of partner nations and works to reduce the illicit drug trade. But shortly after the U.S. began launching lethal strikes against the boats in September, however, the UK grew concerned that the U.S. might use intelligence provided by the British to select targets. British officials believe the U.S. military strikes, which have killed 76 people, violate international law. That's kind of a big fucking deal, wouldn't you say? Now, obviously, this isn't CNN. This is in print on CNN, which means very few people see this. I want to see if the rest of the media covers this and how much they will cover it. How much they will devote to this. Because this seems to me to be a pretty big fucking deal. He has no legal authority to do this. He's murdered 76 people, and one of our closest allies say that, yeah, we don't want anything to do with this. This is illegal. This is a war crime. This violates international law. So we are cutting you off. We are not going to be complicit in your war crimes and your murders. Okay? You might be all over the Epstein files, but we are not. Well, that one guy is, but we stripped him of his official title. But the rest of us are not in the Epstein files. Your orange ass is, and we're not going to commit war crimes just to cover your ass. Not going to do it. So consider us out. We're not going to provide intelligence to you anymore. Finally, from this article. But the Trump administration has argued that the U.S. military can legally kill suspected traffickers because they pose an imminent threat to Americans and are, quote, enemy combatants who are in an armed conflict with the U.S. This is their legal justification, which you can see on its face is freaking ridiculous. So to say that this is their legal justification is to say that they have no legal justification, and it is, as I have said many times, murder. Because if you kill someone and that killing is not legal, that's called murder. That's what the President of the United States is doing. And by the way, so too are everyone in the chain of command who are carrying out these illegal orders. And every damn one of them need to be prosecuted when hopefully a Democrat takes control of the White House in January of 2029. Members of the military, if I was just following orders, no, that's not going to cut it. That's what the Nazis tried in the Nuremberg trials. Oh, we were just following orders. No, didn't work for the Nazis. It's not going to work for you, or it fucking shouldn't work for you. If you are a member of the military, you are obligated to disobey illegal orders. And these are illegal orders. So if you followed them, then you committed a crime. And hopefully one day you will be prosecuted. Okay, what else do I have here? Let me go back to the Epstein thing real quick. Look at my notes. Oh yeah, a couple of points about the Epstein thing. And then I gotta boogie on out of here. First of all, this is pretty bad, right? So these emails put the lie to what Trump has been telling us this whole time, that he didn't know anything about what Jeffrey Epstein was doing. Well, according to Jeffrey, your best friend in these emails, yeah, you did. Secondly, pretty damn bad that he says in these emails that Trump spent hours with one of the victims. I hope we find out more about exactly who that victim is, how old she was, and what Donald Trump may have done to her. But as bad as that is, you know damn well the truth is a lot worse. There's a lot more that's being covered up. This is not all he was trying to cover up. If this is all it was, I don't think he would have gone to these lengths to cover this up. I mean, this is bad. But he could have survived just this. And he will survive just this. I mean, he could just say, that's fake news. Because what? Jeffrey Epstein can't contradict him now. And, Todd Blanche has gotten Ghislaine Maxwell on Team Trump. She's not going to say anything. She's loving life down there in Camp Fed. So she's not going to say anything. So that's it. They got this thing all sealed up, right? They don't have to worry about it. Well, so all Trump that has to do is say, that's fake news. You're going to believe him? He's a liar. He was trying to blackmail me, or whatever he wants to say. And the cult will buy it. So he wouldn't be going to all these lengths to try to cover this up. No, there's worse. I bet you there is a lot worse. Because if he continues the cover-up, if this is all it was, then there's no reason to continue the cover-up, right? Well, it's already out. Might as well just release all the files and stop suffering the political damage of continuing the cover-up. If the worst is out, then just release everything. But he ain't going to do that because there's a lot more in there that's a lot worse. So the cover-up will continue. And in that effort, I'm sure Grinder Mike is going to do his level best to help his orange cult leader to continue covering up what he did with his best friend, Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, what else here? Oh yeah, one thought that came to my mind. You know, as bad as this is, again, is it surprising in the least that Jeffrey Epstein was Epsteined? Remember, see, I don't believe for a second that he committed suicide. And Donald Trump was president when Jeffrey Epstein was Epsteined. And I think people should see by now that there is nothing that Donald Trump is not willing to do to protect his own ass. And having somebody who could implicate him in crimes against children, having that person Epsteined, I don't think he'd think twice about that. He didn't have any problem with his own supporters getting killed on January 6th because it served his political interest. And by the way, and I don't want to go off on this tangent, but another thing that I don't believe at all is that Donald Trump was shot in Butler, Pennsylvania. I think that's complete horse shit. That was a hoax from top to bottom. And when you suggest that that was a hoax, one of the things these apologists say is, well, a man died. So? What, you think that's proof that it wasn't a hoax? Because somebody got killed? You think Trump gives a shit? Because that's what I hear all the time. Somebody got killed. Yeah, people got killed on January 6th, and we're lucky a lot more people didn't get killed on January 6th. Trump knew people were going to get killed. He didn't fucking care. The more people that got killed, the more... And in fact, let's be honest, he wanted members of Congress killed. So this idea that Trump is above murdering people for, if it benefits him... Again, do you see what's happening in the Caribbean? He's murdering people. 76 people so far he's murdered. Why? To distract from Epstein. And what he did with Epstein. And what he did to young girls with Epstein. So, murder, that's nothing for Trump. That's just collateral damage. I don't give a shit. Does it affect him? No. He doesn't care. Murder, violence, political violence serves his purpose. And let's be honest, he wouldn't be president today but for political violence. Oh, and there we go. Don't need to deal with that right now. Let's face it. If members of the Senate were not literally scared for their lives in that second impeachment, Donald Trump would have been convicted in the Senate. We know this. Members of Congress have said this. That there were a lot more people in the Senate, Republicans, who wanted to vote to convict him, but they were afraid. They were afraid for themselves and their families what the mob would do to them. They were afraid that members of their family would be murdered by Trump's cult if they voted to convict. So Donald Trump, political violence, murder is just a tool for Donald Trump. Which, is an ominous warning about the future, because this man is a cornered animal. And when an animal is cornered and scared, that's when they're at their most dangerous. And that's where Donald Trump is now. Unfortunately, this is where we're going to have to go through some stuff before we're done with him. It's going to get worse before it's going to get better. But it's going to get better, I believe. This is ultimately all going to end very, very badly for Donald Trump. I don't know what exactly it will be that will bring him down. There's any number of things that could bring him down at this point. But I think it's going to end very, very badly for him. Even if we never successfully impeach and remove him from office and he stays till the end, he ain't going to go anywhere voluntarily. Stop. This is not a call I'm going to take. He's not going anywhere voluntarily, especially given that he's committed all these crimes and he's going to be worried about being prosecuted. And especially if a Democrat wins in 2028, there ain't no way in hell he's going to leave voluntarily. But let him try to stay. That's what I tell people every time they're worried. Oh, he's never going to leave. Good. Good. Let him try to stay. It's going to end very badly for him. And I want it to end very badly for him. It needs to end very badly for him. Okay? It ended very badly for the Nazis. And so the Germans cast off the Nazis, right? If we're going to cast off MAGA going into the future, if we are going to have history see MAGA for what they are, a fascist personality cult, if we are going to resign MAGA to the ash bin of history, then it needs to end badly for Donald Trump. And so I say try. Try to stay, you criminal piece of shit. I hope we have to drag him out of his Fuhrer bunker underneath his golden ballroom. That's the way it needs to end. But my point is, he is panicked, he's scared. It's going to get worse, and God only knows what he will try. And again, like I said, you down there in Venezuela, you better be ready, because the bombs are probably going to start flying pretty soon with this Epstein stuff. But we'll see. The guy is scared, and he can do a lot of damage, so we'll see where this goes. Thanks for watching, guys.